Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to a sample project using the newest Stamps Are Fun stamp set. This is a super fun, if I can say so myself, stamp set that includes vases, stems, leaves, and a couple blooms that you can play around with to create fun, custom, floral arrangements using patterns and photos and words. And so I'm going to show you an example of how I'm going to do that today. One of the first things that I did was I wanted to see what it looked like when I stamped on pattern paper. So this set has two vases. One has lines on it and one is full. So you could do two different colors. You could like layer one color on another color. For this one, I just used that Columbia ink and wanted to see how that would look on top of this checkered pattern paper. And so as you can see, it comes out really cute. I have a couple other ideas for using this stamp set, and I'll try to share more about this later on. One of them is actually to have a whole entire little sketchbook where I use on each page I stamp a vase, and then I can paint flowers or draw flowers or do a bunch of those things that I've been having fun doing myself. So look for that in the future. I'll probably share more about that on Instagram. The next thing I was thinking about is what are some shapes that I could play around with for my flowers, knowing that I wanted to add a photo on one of these. So I have some circles, some outline circles there. You saw that I was cutting out one of the frame shapes from a recent pattern paper. Just starting to kind of think about, what am I going to put in these circles and how do I want it to lay out? So one of the fun things about this particular stamp set is that it has both the plain stems and the text-based stems. So you can play around with mixing and matching those. It has short stems, long stems, in both the text and the filled out version there. All right, so still kind of playing around, looking at a couple different pattern papers, kind of thinking through, is one of those what I would like to use more than another. And then I also wanted to see what does the stamp look like if I just make it a green background. So here's another way that you could use that. That's the Willamette ink, and I'm actually going to use an old wood stamp that I have that has polka dots on top to just stamp on top and create a pattern. You could do this with a text stamp. You could handwrite on top of it. Your journaling could go there. There's lots of different fun things that you could do right on top of there, right? That would be it's a fun place to add all kinds of things. Embellishments, stamps. You could even put a little photo on there. That would be fun. Play around with different inks, layering, all that good stuff. All right, so next up I was still kind of looking at a few different pattern papers as my background, and I ended up on this one. This one I think is maybe from one of the story kits last year. I just have a pile of patterned 7 by 8.25 outside of the page protector sized pattern papers, and so that's what I'm using as my backgrounds. My initial thought here is that I'm going to use one of the frames plus one of the circles, and then I have these little stamped circles that I did with a previous Stamps Are Fun set, the other floral set that was earlier this year. And so I'm going to add those on for some additional stems. There's my cute little photo of Anna being a line judge in volleyball, and I'm just using this as a little celebration story, celebrating pieces of her, how much joy I am getting in this particular season with her. You can see also that I already stamped my first stem there. I'm going to do another one here in a minute, but first I am going to add a piece of chipboard to the bottom onto my little vase there. I liked that idea. You could do a stack of chipboard. You could do word phrase stickers. You could cut up a bunch of word phrase stickers, like layer those all on top of the vase shape there. That would be another fun way to play around with that. I'm adhering my vase down with foam adhesive so it sticks up a little bit off the back of the page, and then I'm using red line tape right there for the chipboard piece. Rolling adhesive to add my little photo frame. That was a 2-inch circle, I believe, on that one with the photo. Here's another one of my little stems. I'm just kind of trying to place the stems so that the first word is just starting to come out of the vase. I'm going to be layering in some other pieces like the the longer and the shorter filled in stems too, as you'll see here in a little bit. I also decided I wanted to see what did a branch look like. And so I'm going to stamp this one. I'm using the same color green as the vase. I like this because it's still, you can kind of see through there. It just brings in a little bit more of the green. I kind of wanted to stamp it again, but I wanted it to be backwards. Like I wish that I would have had it the opposite way too. So just something to think about for myself for the future. Then I'm playing around with some of these little tiny little circles here that I had done again back with another stamp set. And there's some of them are on vellum and some of them are on pattern paper or on white cardstock there. And so now I'm pairing those little blooms there with some of another stem. There's the one stem that I just did for that guy. That will go there. The one up on the top, I'm going to play around with using the tall stem and doing that twice. But before I get to that point, I decided that I wanted to do a little bit of stitching onto my little flowers here. So I'm doing just a little, what's this called again? Now I can't even remember. A rose stitch. Somebody's going to know. It's just like a little flower stitch that's right on top. And I can't think of the name of it right now. That's what happens when you get to be this age. So we're just rolling with it. Anyway, I'm basically making like a cute little stitch that's just right in the center. I use a little bit of tape on the back to hold it in place, and then I'm going to adhere those down with the foam adhesive. So I love bringing in the other elements from other kits and other projects in the past. We've got one little word kit here. We've got the one of the storyteller kits with the big frame. We've got the stamps. We've got the little circles. It's just a really fun way to play around with this. So I'm looking forward to experimenting a little bit more. You could do one, that has like each person in your family. That would be really cute. Like each person in your family is a flower, or, an around here post that has a bunch, or around here story that has a bunch of little individual things about what's happening right now. This is a great place to use a bunch of your die cuts. All right, there you can see that the stem was a little bit too short for that top flower. So what I'm doing is I'm just making it a little bit longer. It's that middle part's going to get covered, but I wanted to see the top of the stem. That's part of the reason why I don't adhere anything down until I get closer to the end. I did decide that I wanted to add in another little bit of green, so I grabbed one of the leaves that was pointing the other way. It's going to get partially covered up, but I still liked having that green poking out of the background there. All right, so this one's just going to have a short little story. I'm going to add the state onto the top, and then I'm going to handwrite just a little bit again about the joy that I'm experiencing getting to travel with her and getting to do some of the fun things that volleyball has brought into our lives. So just adding that journaling directly on there. If you have longer journaling, you could pair a page that looked like this, maybe has more photos in, as the flowers, pair that with a full page of journaling, or pair that with a die cut or a pocket page protector that had journaling cards in it. There's lots of different things that you could do to make this work for the kinds of stories that you might want to be telling in this particular season of your life. All right, I'm actually also using foam adhesive for that. Just pops it up off the back of the page a little bit. The other thing that I'm going to do with this one that's a little bit random is I'm going to cut it so that it's a little bit shorter, partly because I wish that I would have moved it up on the page a little bit and centered it on the page better. So I'm actually just going to trim off a little bit of the top and then make it a unique page size within my album. So I'll just have that in there, and then whatever ends up on the back side can be a similar size to that. So that's something that I've done in the past. Love how this one turned out. Let me know if you guys have questions in the comments below.